Welcome to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. Join me each week as we dive into amazing conversations with some of our industry's top leaders. We will talk about photography, business, and most of all, share the stories that have laid the foundation to our journey in this world we call photography. A couple of ways to support the show is to like, subscribe, and share the show with others. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you're a fan of seeing us live, we are on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome on to another beautiful day to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. With me, as always, is another amazing guest. This week, we brought in Carolina Waldorf. She is a photographer, a wife, a sister, a friend, an amazing entrepreneur. I already mentioned she's a photographer, but she is a phenomenal photographer. Just a great, wholesome, kind soul that I've been able to fortunately call a friend in this industry. But yeah, she was able to bless us with a few minutes of her time this week and, come on to the show. So Carolina, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey. I'm great. It's Friday. Well, sorry, I can't say that, right? Can't say the day of the week it is. Continuity.
We drop these episodes every Monday.
Did it cut off?
You guys know that. So we could be recording on a Friday or
it's
Monday.
Monday.
Not sure, but it's Monday. It's always a Monday. We got to start the week off with a great episode.
It's Monday. We love
Shout
Monday.
Shout out to Johnny who comes Monday. Yes. Mondays are my Sundays, Mondays are my Mondays that are my weekends after a long waiting weekend.
Yes.
That's why my kids. It's so funny. We mention Mondays, and I have a teenage daughter who's in high school, and she literally wakes up every Monday like, "Oh God, I hate this." And I'm like, "Yes, I finally get to rest from the wedding weekend or whatever I was shooting that weekend. Monday's my rest day, and Tuesday I get back at it." So she's like, "Why do you love Mondays?" So she's like, "Because I get to rest." She's like, "But I have to go to school." It's like even better because now I get to rest with a quiet house. So yes.
But, you do me a favor.
Exactly. Just for full transparency to the world listening, we are recording this show a few weeks after Shutterfest, so we're coming off of our post Shutterfest hangover. So Carolina, how you doing post Shutterfest now?
I'm struggling. I still can't catch up with anything, and I do miss everybody still. I'm like in all the group chats with all the people, and it just feels like, man, a whole nother year before I get to see some of these people again. I can't wait. Some of my best friends are Shutterfest,
I know. I feel like I want to just randomly do pop-ups. Like, okay, let's throw a dart at the map and let's pick a city and just tell everybody, hey, Shutterfest, we're doing a pop-up work session on this Saturday on this date in Little Rock, Arkansas. If you can be there, be there. If you don't worry about getting a hotel, just get there. We'll figure it out from there, and we'll bring 3 models, and then we'll figure it out from there, and we'll order some pizzas, and we'll figure it out from there. So we can all get that answer, finally get to see some friends again,
Exactly.
That's gonna be my go-to this year. Yeah, well, for me, when I go, anytime I travel anywhere, I always post a group, hey, who's in this city? I'm going to be here between this time, love to hang out, shoot, whatever, just because, I'm a big proponent of the community being so important. Speaking of community, let's talk about yours. You have such a huge community, a huge following. Where did it all begin? So when did Carolina pick the camera and go, I want to do this crazy thing called be a photographer?
Well, I guess that dates back way to my childhood, right? But creativity has always been something that I've pursued. I've always wanted to sing and act. When I was younger, I moved to LA and I did that for a while. But I realized once I got there, that wasn't the dream. And, fast forward a few years, I was working at Six Flags as a photographer. And I thought that was fun, but I did a lot of the sales there, which who knew that would prepare me for the future. And then I fast forward a couple more years. I'm in Branson, Missouri. I worked as a photographer at an old time studio. And so again, working in the sales side of the photography. And it was just really cool. I realized at that moment in the old time photo booth, why am I working for somebody else and making them so much money doing something that I genuinely enjoy when I could be doing this myself? And my husband and I were getting ready to get married and he was going to be a travel nurse. So I thought, well, I can't work every 3 months at a different job. I need something that I can do myself wherever I go. And that's when I thought, well, I really enjoy photography. It's easy, right? You just buy a camera and you take pictures. It's simple. I could do that. And that's kind of what kicked it all off.
That's what they said on YouTube, right? Buy a camera and now you're a photographer.
Yes, that's right. You buy a camera, you're a photographer. That's it. Label yourself.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny you said you were doing pictures at Six Flags. Believe it or not, my first legal, like legit, I paid taxes on my paychecks job was at Six Flags over Texas. So it's kind of funny. And then you talk
I was
about
at Magic
you
Mountain.
mentioned you were working at Old Town Studio. Okay, and then you mentioned you worked at an Old Time Studio. I have done the horror story of I have worked at a Lifetime Photography and a J.C. Penney portrait when I first like said, oh, I'm going to do photography and make some money on the side. When I was a high school teacher, I was like, okay, well, I did the J.C. Penney portrait during the holidays, and I remember that telling myself that was the worst 6 weeks of my life. I'm never doing that again, and I never have, and I never will. It almost made me say I never want to shoot family portraits again because that was hell. And I was like, there's no way that this could be the life of a photographer. And I was like, ah, I still have nightmares of that. You know, anytime I hear screaming kids and I hear mom go, just keep it together for one picture. I just need one picture. I'm like, ooh, that's triggering. So, I mean, you mentioned Missouri, you mentioned Magic Mountain, all that good stuff. Where are you currently residing at these days? Because I know you guys get a little bit of change of scenery.
Yes. So my husband, who was a travel nurse, was originally born and raised in Alpha, Florida. It is in between Panama City Beach and Tallahassee. So we came back home so that he could finish up his school. He's studying to be a nurse practitioner. He's the mayor of Alpha, Florida. So
Oh,
I
nice.
guess by association, I am the first lady, which I don't like when people say that. I'm like, I'm just me. I'm living in this town that I would like to say nobody knows me, but everybody knows me because of who my husband is. But it's itty bitty. I mean, I don't even know the population here. It's probably like 500 or 600 maybe. It's probably a mile wide by a mile long. It's itty bitty, but it's fun. Got to drive 45 minutes to Panama City or
And
Tallahassee to go do something.
And these are the fun facts that I need to know prior to the show because you left that part out because I would have introduced you as the first lady of Alpha, Florida. Is it Alpha? Did I say right?
Alpha, Altha.
Alpha, yes. So, okay, Alpha. So, Alpha, Florida, the first lady. I mean, gosh, here I am thinking I got, like, all these other photographers that I've had on here have been amazing instructors and everything, but here I am. I have political royalty on my show. I mean, pretty soon it goes from mayor. He's governor of Florida, and they could always use another governor because Florida's a shit show. And then or he could be in the Senate. So we might not be seeing you in photography too long. You're gonna be in the Senate, and then governor doing playing in the governor's ball. Oh my gosh, are you ready for that?
Something tells me that's not our calling in life.
Now I want to. It's like I almost want to squash the pot. Like, how did he get in the pot? Like, now I want to turn this to my. Where's Jeff at? Jeff, how did you become mayor? Like, what did that say? You know what? I want to run for mayor. Like, it's like I'm studying for nurse practitioner. You know what? Let's run for mayor while I'm at it. Like, wait, what? That's awesome.
We both have this horrible
Okay,
habit
so start.
of loading our plate with so much.
I mean, the mayor of a city. We joke about those things, like but wow, that's interesting. So, okay, so that's I don't even know how to segue from that. That curve, man. Here I am getting curveball on my own show. Okay, Madam First Lady. When so
No,
what kind
don't
of
even.
so in the realm of photography, for those that don't know, a lot of your, I guess I'm not gonna say a lot of your success, but you were kind of catapulted in the limelight, not by being the mayor's wife or not being the first lady, but in the photography world, you were catapulted because of a little show called the Creator Series. So let's talk about the Creator Series. Let's talk about your cast. If you have any cool stories about that, but what was tell me about your experience on that.
Oh my goodness. I guess we have to start with submitting, right? When I submitted, it was like I was an actress in LA. I just love submitting for camera opportunities. In my mind, did I think that I would ever catch the attention of the Sal Sincata, the Alyssa Sincata? No. Okay, but I did have an amazing idea. Everybody starts off with their video talking, their sound, there's audio. I was like, what if we did a silent film? Genius on my part, guys, genius. And it did catch their attention. And I did get the email that said, you're on the show. And it was like 9 p.m. and I was already in bed like an old lady. So I didn't find out till the morning when everybody had already like called and texted me. There was a million notifications. And it was just like, I couldn't even come to reality with it. I didn't expect it. I was like, do they realize who they asked? Because I'm not ready for this. I just submitted for funsies. It was for the gigs. Like, I'm not ready for this. And then it was all the planning. So I wanted to be I'm very competitive natured, and I don't want to say like I wanted to be the best out of everyone there, but whenever I do something, I like to go full force. So my friend Tabitha Schrader also made it on with me, and we are in a little group of Shutterfest called the Shutter Buddies. So she's like a sister friend to me, and we
Hmm.
both decided we wanted to be prepared. I was shooting Nikon. This was a Canon show, and I was like, I am not ready to handle a Canon in my hand. And she goes, well, why don't you come up to St. Louis? We'll invite a couple of our friends over to mentor us so that we are prepared, and we'll do like 10-minute challenges with each other. So we trained. I felt like Rocky, if there was a Rocky montage, it was us in that studio, 10 minutes with all these different crazy ideas. We didn't do double exposure, but we did modeling with men, and we were like, maybe they'll throw in couples this time. And we were ready. I had prepared as much as I physically could by the time we went. Day of flying to the creator series, all the things that could go wrong with the flight went wrong. And I have only small airports near me. So it was, of course, either I had to drive 5 hours to Atlanta to maybe make it in time to Kansas City. And I decided to just take a Southwest flight instead. And anyway, I got there. You sit down, and everybody had already been there kind of getting to know each other by the time I got there with all my delays. But Sal's like, so what's your strength? It's like, oh God, the first thing when you walk in, not even like, hey, welcome, how's it going? What's your strength? Are you ready? Are you ready to do this? And I told him it was composition, which looking back, I still feel strongly about my composition, but let's not talk about cropping. That night, we all got to know each other really well. And it was just crazy how this unique group of people who majority had never met each other was able to click and connect so quickly. And all my favorite people were kind of in that group. Like Andre, I call him my sweet baby Brown now. Prior to to Creator Series, I don't think that we would have been friends. Now I consider him my homie. I'm like, what's up, sweet baby Brown? Tabitha and I, our bond grew closer. We're trauma bonded for life. Anthony Romano is one of my favorite people ever, and I don't even get to see him. I don't get to talk to him that much, but that dude is a creative genius. The experience that this guy has. I mean, Josh and I, when we I'll talk about getting on the show, the experience of getting kicked off. But Josh and I, we really bonded after that first episode. I mean, just a bunch of great people. Margot, we didn't become close at the Creator Series, which is a funny thing. We became close after, and I think that was really cool to open up our friendship the way we did. I mean, she's one of the realest people I know. I love her. She's so much fun to be around, and I'm so happy for her and what this did for her career. Laura Dark. I could talk about everybody. I love them all. I support them all. I'm so proud of who they are and what they're doing with their life after the Creator Series, because at the time it's like a battlefield.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. It's funny, like your season, like half the people on there I'm friends with. I mean, me and Andre go way back. I go way back with Chris. Josh was a new friend. I joke with him, because I go, because I read had my notes down right, that he wasn't, for week one elimination. So I said, so how far did you get into the show again? Because I didn't have my notes in front of me. He was like, yeah, I was at week one. I was like, oh shit. I was like,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
funny is when we watch a show, I actually watch it with a group of photographers locally. Like I'll set up a big screen on the, and we'll watch it. We get snacks. I say, hey, we all need to watch this. I make my second shooters or my associates. We'll like kind of watch it in the studio or whatnot or whatever, right? And because we have a little co-working space, so I'll set it up there on the big screen. We got on the 70-inch. We got snacks and we're eating pizza. And we're watching it. And I said, keep in mind, it's easy for us to armchair quarterback and say, oh, I would have done this. I would have done that. I said, but you got to remember, when you're on the spot, it is so hard. And I'm trying to teach them the idea of like working under pressure. That's what I take from it. That's why I respect what you guys do so much on that show. And I remember week one, first challenge, double exposure. I said, oh, fuck, I would have been, pardon my language. I said, oh, fuck, I would have been eliminated week one because I don't even know how to do that. Everybody was grabbing their cameras trying to figure out how to do double exposure, and we're still trying to figure out how to do double exposure because of that show. So I'm like, Sal, you twisted genius. Like, here I am. I bet you everyone watched season one going, oh, I'm ready for season two. I got this on the lock. I know what I would do if we do gels. I know what we're going to. And then he just hit us with new challenges. I'm like, okay, so when someone says to me, hey, you should try for season three, I'm like scared because I literally don't know what other challenges he could think of, and he'll find a way to think of new ones. I'm like, dude, he's done everything that I don't know how to do. I am screwed. So now it's like the goal is to get on the show. Obviously, I always get to that last little thing and I don't get it. But if I get it, the goal is to just get past week one so I can talk shit to Josh and be like, hey, what's up, man? How's it? I was a week two eliminated. Now week one. I went home second,
That's
not first.
hilarious.
It wasn't a short trip. So that's the joke I make. But I mean, even looking at season one, you got the people like Ning and you got Brody and Leroy. Like and it wasn't by design, but half the guests on here have competed on creator series. It just happened by design. Like half of them happen to be my friends or become friends of mine. Or it's like we've had like our inner circles are like intertwined with each other. So it's like, oh yes, like I never met Tabitha, but then Tabitha knows so many people in Fort Worth that I'm tight with. And then when I see her there, we're just joking and everything, like we haven't missed a beat. And that's like, and speaking of Tabitha, we send her our well wishes. Last time I spoke with her, she seemed like she was in good spirits. So, that was scary
Yes.
as hell to hear what happened. I was like, well, damn, I feel bad about joking on her now. The greatest joke ever when I said,
Yes,
hey,
she's
look,
just like me.
just because, yeah, but nah, she's super awesome. But I mean, so going back to you, I mean, your takeaways. Obviously, you create a new inner circle, new crop of things. Doing something like that, what kind of I guess advice would you give to a budding or aspiring photographer that's just looking to challenge themselves and elevate themselves? Because I mean, obviously, being on something like that is a great challenge and can create great elevation from it. So, what's your takeaway from that to tell the public?
Yes. My challenge was soft light. The challenge I got kicked out on round one was soft light beauty portraits. And going in immediately, seeing Brooklyn come out, I mean, Brandy does an amazing job. Refined Beauty, they know what they're doing. When she came out immediately, I thought of a story, which is great. But I was so set on that one shot that I had in here, that one image that I was really ready and willing to risk it all for. And I didn't allow myself as a creative to embrace all the creative possibilities that could happen. I went in with my plan of attack. I was super comfortable. I don't know if you really watched it. I said something like, "Oh, I'm chilling, Sal," and that's what I kept telling him. Like I was so calm because I knew I had brought that one image I did, and I didn't change anything all about it. And so after that experience, some of the takeaways, the main takeaways that I took, Andre told me always crop to the story that you're trying to portray or something along those lines. And so I had cropped my loss was cropping it the incorrect way for the story I was trying to portray because I was trying to match that beauty portrait and I thought what's a tight crop and I messed up with the pose. So as long as I crop it this way. So it's like no, just allow yourself to express yourself creatively and don't get so set on that one thing that you want to do. Just give yourself that freedom. You are creative. You never know what can happen. You can have so much planned, but just let that fun creative side of you take over.
Nice. So within photography, what do you consider, I guess, your specialty, or what do you best know? What do you think you're best known?
I have been very generalized up until this point in my career. Um, like you mentioned, Creator Series definitely catapulted multiple things in my life. I decided I didn't want to be so generalized. I'm only 3 years in on my business, which is or almost 3 years in my business, which is unreal to me because I have worked so hard and I've put in the effort to be where I'm at today. And so the learning and the growth and where I'm at has pushed me to decide to really delve into that creative. I've decided that I want to pursue creative portraiture. However, currently, time being, it's too general to say I'm recognized for that one thing, but soon you'll know me for the sets that I plan on building, the stories that I plan on telling. I want to pursue making this massive piece for somebody's home where it's like the fine art portraiture, but not quite. Just like a painted image, gold frame around it, just super fancy and unique to every individual person.
Love it, love it. I love that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, knowing you, knowing your work ethic, it's just a matter of time before we actually see, oh wow, and then you look at people going, you're gonna have those fans come up to you like, oh my God, you're Carolina, can I get a selfie? He's like, how much now? How much of that was happening at
They come
Shutterfest
up
where
and they
they were
go,
people getting the
"Oh, I'm so glad you won the show. That ain't me. I know we're the only two brown girls representing, but that ain't me."
I was like, man, y'all don't look that much alike. I look at some minorities, but come on, hey, there's a
No,
little bit of difference between Margot and Carolina. Well, no, the joke I'm gonna say
just a
if I
little
go
bit.
for season 3 and I get on, I joked of that. I said if I make season 3, I said I have an opportunity to make history. I'd be the first man to ever win the Creator Series, and everyone was like, Oh yeah, too bad Margaret won because you would have been the first black man. I said no, but you know what? I'm half Asian, so I could be the first Asian man. So like I'm trying to find any
There you
excuse to
go.
say I'm the first at something, but you know, I'll jokes aside, and I'm pretty sure they'll be the one with the, And I remember somebody went up to me and Leroy have this ongoing joke because somebody went up to Leroy and called him Marvin, and then somebody went up to me and called me Leroy, and I go, we look nothing alike. So we were doing all these stupid selfies last year where we were like taking all these like weird stepbrother pictures and stuff. Because this one girl was like, I thought you guys looked alike, and I'm looking at her like, how the hell do you think we? He like first off, he's like 6 foot plus. All right, I'm 5'11". He's got like 6 inches on me in height. Our skin, yes, we're both
And height.
black men, but our skin tones are significantly different. I have curly hair. He has more. It's like, yeah, we don't look nothing alike. So that just became this ongoing joke that every time like he sees me, he'll go Leroy, and I go, hey Marvin, like that, And so, but so yeah, welcome to my world where they confuse you with someone else. You're like, dude, we look nothing alike. But
But
so I
it's
mean,
also
with
like an
you,
honor because
three
it's like,
years,
yeah, Margot's
almost
pretty great.
yeah, exactly. And but going back to what you're saying, you were mentioning you only had your business 3 years, but you've got some years. Photography and running a photography business is a lot like a relationship where we've been dating for this long, and that's how long you've been a photographer. But then when you get married is when you make that commitment. That's when you start your business. So like how long? So but the difference between how long you've been a photographer versus how long you've run your business now. How long has that been, or what's the difference in timeline?
I would definitely say it's about the same timeline because even though I had my experience at Six Flags, it doesn't really count. They hand you a camera, they say these are the settings you have to use, and then go sell the image. It's not about the composition. You're just literally trying to give people a souvenir, And then same thing with the old time photo booth. It's like these are the recommended settings. They teach you nothing about the light. They just go to the studio, take the pictures of the family, and you want to pump as many people as you can in that experience. So again, I don't consider that a photography experience. Hands on, I picked up my camera June 21 or May 2021, and I started my business like in June. I took my first client. So I consider it the same timeline of it, of having my business and having picked up my camera and being a photographer, where I took that dedicated time to learn about lighting, to learn about posing, to learn about composition, and all the things that come with being a photographer and an artist.
Right on, right on. And we going back to I remember I know what you're getting when you say they just give you the settings and tell you that. I remember when I shot for JC Penney, they said, hey, make sure the camera stays in A. And I said A for awesome. So now anytime someone says, hey, what are your settings or whatever, and they make sure you're shooting in manual who's still shooting in something different, I always joke and say I shoot an A for awesome because that's where I got it from when she goes, hey, if you're an A, that means you're awesome. And I was just like, it means I'm because they did. It was like they were teaching no editing, no nothing. It was like take the picture, push them in, push them out, make sure they smile. So we only got to do five. We got 5 shots to get the pictures, and they choose which one they like by the images, the multiple prints, and then they're gone. It was like the quickest 5 minute
Mhm.
sales, and just again, times have changed. I'm glad we're more hands on with what we do. So, but so
Yes.
obviously, Creative Shutterfest with your community. So we know each other because of the Shutterfest community, because of our inner circles intertwined with each other and everything. So you're still, I mean, for lack of a better term, you would be considered one of the Shutterfest kind of newbies versus like me. I'm considered one of the OGs, even though I came the year after it started, but still I got 9 years. But what is some of your favorite parts about Shutterfest or conferences in general? The things that we get to experience when we're there.
Yes. So Shutterfest is my home. That is where my heart is at. I love all the friends in the community that I've made there. I started attending 4 years ago in 21, September of 21, because Facebook ads are that specific, and Sal knows what he was doing. So anyway, I attended my first Shutterfest September 21, and I instantly loved how easy it was to connect to people that I'd never met. I hate when you go to network at places and it's just like, I'm an outgoing person and I get so introverted at those times. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I'm like, oh, so scared to start a conversation, embarrass myself. At Shutterfest, you can be you. You can approach anybody, start a conversation. Everybody just welcomes you and takes you in. And at the point where I was in September 21, it was so nice to have a community of people who were willing to give me their whole business plan, willing to give me exactly what they do and say, hey, here's my phone number. Call me if you need me. I know you have a lot of questions about the subject. And it was just like, I couldn't believe believe people were so open to sharing something to somebody so new in this community that they don't know me. I'm a girl born and raised in Texas, living in Florida. Like, they don't know who I am, and they're so kind and welcoming. This year was my first year actually attending more than just Shutterfest. So I got a taste of imaging and I got a taste of WPPI. I had a really nice time at imaging because I lived in Louisville for a bit. So I was really comfortable where I was. And I hung around with Josh and Chris for a bit, love them both dearly from the Creator Series. And it was really cool to get to meet people through them and then feel comfortable weaning off of them and becoming my own independent person out there. And by the time we got to WPPI in Vegas, I love Vegas. That's one of my favorite cities. I bumped it. By then, I had bumped into Margot and clicked with Margot. So then I had a new friend to carry on with me through these conferences. And one of my near and dear friends that I made this year was Stacey Kennedy. They're different than Shutterfest. Nothing will compare to Shutterfest and the community Shutterfest has. But it's really cool to meet people from literally everywhere at these places and then tell them about Shutterfest so that they can join you in that crowd.
Kind of lost you for a moment. You were mentioning Shutterfest. What happened?
What part of Shutterfest? I was just mentioning how you can tell these people at Imaging and WPPI about Shutterfest. So now that you can welcome them back into the main group or my main group.
No, you were mentioning WPPI. Like I remember, because we were at Obscura. You were at Obscura. Yeah, we were all there, I think.
Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah, I had my daughter. I remember just the best part about WPPI honestly was going to Obscura, even though it has nothing to do with WPPI. But just doing Obscura, my daughter got to see the back end of like what we do as photographers. And it isn't just, oh, we got expensive cameras and we take really cool pictures and we get to live this life of luxury. She got to see the grind of what it's like to shoot all day and then eat some food real fast, get some sleep, and then get up in the next morning and do it all over again. And she was like, how do you do this? And I'm like, because I love it, or, I love this grind. I love everything about it. I love being creative. Like, this is my elements. But it was really cool to share that with her. And she just was like enthralled, but like, oh my gosh, like she walked away with the respect of like, oh, it isn't just anybody with a phone can do what you do because she knows how hard it is. And when she hears people say, she's like, no, I've seen photographers at a high level and she knows. And I said, you haven't seen nothing. I said, because WPPI is a walk in the park compared to what we do at Shutterfest. And then she's like, I don't know if I can last. No, it'll put some hair on you, for sure. It's that shot of whiskey. It's
yes,
like
it'll
catch you off guard. Exactly.
No sleep.
I swear I didn't get any sleep this year. Like, this year was a no sleep. This year was just networking, the midnight marketing stuff we were doing when CJ was like, hey, can I just get a few people that got some experience in this market? And then next thing you know, it's 1:30 in the morning and we're talking about marketing and this and that and what we've done. And we're all just sharing ideas and just to see people like really into what we were saying. I was like, I didn't think I was saying anything special. I was just literally saying, this is what I do for my client. And this is what I did to build relationships with vendors and with wedding venues and things like that. And it would just be to see people like perspective change, like, oh wow. And it wasn't like I didn't spend these thousands upon thousands of dollars and I didn't wait for someone to do it for me. It was just like, hey, you know what, if you think this person's awesome, I guarantee if you ask them to take them out for some coffee or whatever, they're going to be all about it. Or if you like working with this venue and they got 3 people on staff, dude, if you literally said, hey, I would love to reach out to you, buy you guys some coffee, whatever, but however, I'm detained today, but still want to buy you guys some coffee. So I'm going to DoorDash you guys some Starbucks or whatever. And then the next time you go, they're like, oh, you're the guy that DoorDashed to Starbucks. And they remember that. Or, buy a bunch of $5 Starbucks gift cards and just hand them out to the vendors you work with. Just say, hey, this is my, next time we see, I want to buy you a cup of coffee. But if I can't see you anytime soon, at least let me buy you a cup of coffee anyways. Because they remember stuff like that. And it's like this little $5 investment created a relationship that now leads you to make a ton of money. But I remember you mentioning something about, you said you're born and raised in Texas. What part? Because I'm a Fort Worth guy. So you mentioned the great state of Texas, then,
Exactly. I was born in Eagle Pass, Texas, and raised in Del Rio, Texas. So I consider Del Rio home.
Okay. Nice.
Up, in the little armpit part of Texas,
Yeah. Over yes. Like past New Braunfels and all that. Like, yeah, I don't want to
north of
north. But so you went from Texas, yeah, a little bit. But you went from Texas, and then how did you end up to like because now you're in Florida, so and then you said you moved to California, so you gotta tell us the journey behind all the traveling, because that's got a story in itself.
I'm a free spirited person. I always say that if I lived in any era, it would be the 60s or 70s. You know, I'd be jumping in some stranger's Volkswagen and just going. So I love Del Rio, but it was never going to be my permanent home. I knew that not that I was bigger than that place, I knew I wanted more. And so I wanted to pursue acting. My dad allowed me to have the opportunity to move to Los Angeles with my older sister, older brother, and younger brother to pursue the acting dream. We had an agency and a management. And so we lived out there for 5 years. And in that time, I met so many incredible people. But my dad wanted me to come back home. He's a Hispanic father, you know, he loves his mija and he wanted me to be with him all my life. And so we moved back to Texas for a bit and I sold for my dad for a water company. And after a while, I got tired. I said, Dad, I'm ready for the next big thing. And right when I was ready for that, I got a text from somebody I had met in Los Angeles saying, hey, do you want to be my live-in nanny in Louisiana? And I said, sure, I want to be your live-in nanny. My dad gave me his blessing. I lived in Louisiana for a hot second. And then that's when COVID hit. And so it was like, oh man, I don't want to go back home to my mom and dad in Texas, but I don't know where I'm going to go. I couldn't do it on my own. I had a dream that God told me that I needed to stick with my family because I wanted to kind of rebel and do my own thing. And God was like, that's not the plan. So I moved to Missouri, Branson, Missouri at the time with my older brother. And right when that happened, I met Jeffrey on Facebook dating. So we were locked down in quarantine. I chatted with him for a minute and we ended up becoming boyfriend girlfriend, then ended up deciding we wanted to marry each other. And that's how I did a lot of my traveling after that, was with his travel nursing gig. So our first part of our marriage started in St. Louis, then we ended up in Tampa, then we ended up in Louisville. We lived in Arkansas, not Arkansas, in Arizona for a bit, then Lake Havasu. Then we lived in Salt Lake City, and now we're back in Florida. So a lot of my time has just been jumping around, and people always ask me, where are you going to end up? Alpha is not my forever home. It's a place near and dear to his heart as he was born and raised here. But we have decided that, you know, after some time, we'll have to find somewhere that's going to be a home and establish that for both of us.
I feel like you're the person that needs the, what's the term, van life. Like, give you the camper van and just let you, find a new
Yes.
spot every day, a new scenery. You're definitely the true free spirit. Like, and yes, I can easily see you being the person like, hey, we're going to California. I'm in. Like, got a, pocket full of cash and, big dreams. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Meanwhile, your parents going, you could die.
Yes.
That was kind of like
that is
when
the
I
worst
joined
thing
the
that could
army.
happen. Yes.
It was like, it's like when I joined the army, like, you guys came here with big dreams. I was like, dude, I was just trying to get out the house. Stay living there no more. I had to go. Nah, but I definitely know that feeling of like when you feel you're not necessarily you're bigger than the environment, but there's more out there for you, and you want to at least see it before you can make a decision on did you optimize your opportunities in life and get a chance to really see it. And I think as photographers, we get an awesome opportunity to do so many things and go to so many different cities. Some of us have the fortunate the fortunate experience to get to see the world and shoot outside the country and but with all your travels, where have been some cool places that you got to photograph at?
I think my favorite place was actually the Salt Lake in Salt Lake City, Utah, or outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, but out there, it was so beautiful. I remember it being like almost December, but it feels like the world is suspended around you and it is just so calm and so beautiful and so cool. I did 3 shoots back to back. I got 3 models. I did a couple, I wanted to practice engagement sessions, and I did like a bachelorette I wanted to dedicate to like a disco cowgirl, and she nailed that. She's one of my favorite people in Salt Lake. And then I met some random girl and we did like a disco or alien Barbie, and that was super cool out there. That's probably my favorite place that I photographed is Utah because it's just so versatile with all the landscapes that they have, especially in wintertime, right before the snow. We came in at the fall, so I got all the greenery that changed into the yellow and the orange, and then we got the snow, and it was just beautiful to see it all like that.
Nice. I have not had the pleasure of ever shooting in Salt Lake, believe it or not, and that is definitely a place I want to check out. We'll see in a few years if I if we go other places. Like I'm opening up more now that the my oldest is graduating this year. It gives me more time to travel more freely and not necessarily have to be at home for the kids and everything, because my wife and I can tag team and manage one child, but when you have two daughters, it definitely does a number to you when you're keeping up with their schedules and stuff. So yeah, Awesome. So let me ask you this: with all the momentum you had this past year, Shutterfest and everything, what has what's been keeping you motivated? What's pushing you right now as far as like going through? Because like I said, we're coming off that Shutterfest side where we have all these creative ideas and everything, and obviously that's going to be one motivation. But what has motivated you since day one and kept you motivated?
It's kind of a mix of passion and love for the craft and people, and the want to have a legacy for my family. At this time, my husband and I don't have any kids, but when we do one day, I want to be able to have accomplished these things, not just for me, but for them as well. And so it's all a love project ultimately. I love to show love in all forms. And so for me to be able to make something, create something that's going to live longer than me, and to pour out all my energy and love that I have in this heart that loves to just pour it all in, it just keeps me going. Any way to show love to the world that I can.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love that answer. And then, we talked about some of your favorite places you shot at. What's on your bucket list for places you want to shoot at? Because I know, like, if you're like me, you probably still got a bunch of places. Like, we haven't even talked about the overseas stuff I want to hit, but definitely, like, even stateside and overseas, what's been on like your radar as far as like
I just want to get out of the country. After living a little bit everywhere, I'm ready to go somewhere really cool and off the beaten path almost. I loved Bali. I visited Bali in 2019 and I'd like to go back there. I think it would be really cool to tell the stories of all the temples. I don't know what the rules are about shooting out there, but just something that shows the stories that come from out there. Somewhere cool like that, or Greece. I would say Bali or Greece are probably top of the list.
sorry, you cut out. I lost you again. Your screen froze on me. You mentioned Bali. That's where you left
Okay.
off at.
Yes. Yes. So I had been to Bali. I don't know what the rules are on the temples and all that, but I'd like to tell more of the story of the locals and the people there and the beauty that is Bali, Indonesia, and as well as maybe somewhere like Greece. Greece is also on that list.
It's funny you mentioned Greece. I did an engagement recently, and they were I was just talking. They reached out. They just wanted engagement pictures, and I'm like, usually I guess they must be still scouting or they still must be planning. They haven't set a date, but they're engaged now. That was kind of like my just about. I figured that's what it was, and they were a referral client and everything. So do the engagement. Kind of took their vision of what she had in mind. She wanted like this speak easy, very kind of date night, but intimate speakeasy shoot. So we found this nice little quaint bar. They allowed me to just go in there and give me, 45 minutes, and it was almost like creator series in a session. But they gave me 45 minutes to just be creative, and I did that. Knocked out the park, and then we went to a little ice cream shop and kind of just got playful with that and everything while they were eating ice cream. And then she said, "Yeah, we're actually when I asked them about the wedding, she said, "Yeah, we're actually going to get married in Greece. That's why we didn't say we weren't interested in wedding for." Oh yeah, I tried. Well, she's like, "Oh, you do?" And she's like, "Well, how much extra does it cost you to travel?" I was like, "Really? What it is? You just choose your package, and then like I'm winging it at this point. I go, "Yeah, you choose your package, and then you just we just assess the travel fees, which is your flight, the hotel." And then if I need a rental car or whatever, but because it's international, I'll probably taxi it everywhere because it's just easier. It's not like I'm going to know where I'm going. So I'm probably gonna be at the hotel with you the entire time. Haha, laughing. And then now I just got the call that hey, we want to definitely schedule an appointment and discuss possibly you coming out to Greece and everything. Because since you have your insurance and your passport and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, not a problem. And then I got to my babe, I might be going to Greece this November. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully in a few weeks I get an answer and we go from there because they were talking about they wanted to get somebody local, but then it's just the she says it's hard to trust getting someone local when they can't talk to them. But then you have a guy in Texas that they can talk to, and then it's like if all they gotta do is put a little bit extra, it gives them certainties that they want that they'd rather have. And I was like, yeah, definitely. And then with them telling their parents saying, hey, if you find somebody here and you absolutely love them, if you like them, then we love it, cool, and we'll probably help you invest on bringing them out there to you because if all we got to do is pay extra is just paying for their travel, that's not a big deal. I'd rather, spend the extra 1,200 it costs to bring them out there than we hire somebody that was cheaper there and we know nothing about them and they no show us. And because it's a whole different language and whole different country, there's some different rules. And how are we going to sue somebody in a different country? You know, so it's just all those different things. But yeah, I'm definitely excited about that. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. So this segues to my next, I guess my next final question before we start wrapping things up. What is the what's next for Carolina?
Oh man, the what's next? I think life has definitely threw a wrench, not a wrench that that sounds so negative, but all the curveballs and just adapting to everything that's going on. This moment in my time, business wise, I'm going to hone in on personalizing everything even more. I'm huge about making connections with people and especially my clients. That's one of the first compliments I ever received about my work from my dear friend Barry Pelkey. He's incredible. He said, "Your work is always so connected. Your subjects are always so connected to you." And that's genuinely a reflection of my experience with working with me. So moving forward, I'm focusing on honing in on my branding and personal headshots, kind of thing like that with my clients. And for my photography, business wise, teaching, which feels so weird to say. I was really encouraged at a creator series by the people there. We want to hear from you. We love your personality. We love who you are. So I'm starting to delve in a little bit more on seeing what that is. My relationship with Background Town, having the opportunity to actually speak at Shutterfest for the first time. I never would have anticipated that. Really putting my heart behind that on the why of why I'm willing to talk to other photographers and encourage them the same way that I needed to be encouraged back then and putting them in the forefront. So preparing myself to maybe even apply to speak at Shutterfest next year and focus more on my YouTube channel and start creating content to help other people that were just like me confused as what to do with you bought a camera, now what kind of deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now I love that too. Like honestly, I'm a firm believer that if you build it, they'll come. And when I talk to people and they say, "Yeah, I'm going to apply to teach here, teach that," I said, "But what are you doing in the meantime? Like, are you doing anything to contribute to the industry, or are you just like, hey, I want to teach. Teaching looks cool. I want to teach or whatever. Or do you want to like, even if there's never an opportunity for you to teach, what are you doing in the meantime to create those opportunities, or at least put it out there?" I mean, for me, I think that this podcast was one of those versions of me doing, putting my money where my mouth is outside of Shutterfest and the conferences. If I want to give knowledge or give inspiration or whatever, how am I going about doing that? Am I doing it through social media? Am I doing? I said, you know what? I've been talking about doing the podcast, and you know, I love photography. I love talking about it. I love the shop talk that we get to do with this and everything. And when you're around your like-minded people, we have the best conversations, even if it is 3 o'clock in the morning, and everyone's like going, "God, go to bed." And you're like, "Dude, nope, conversation's too good." And I mean, we could talk about this all day, and so for me, this was my love letter back to the industry, was starting this podcast and bringing in people, and we talk about the journeys and stuff. So, um, with that being said, I do want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know I'm going to get you on for another episode down the road, and just this is only the beginning, and I know there's big things in store for you. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see your creative portraitures come to life. Like I know you're going to kill it in that one. And you keep mentioning Texas, and you mentioned so many Texas names. You might as well just come on down to Texas, back home for a while. Just get settled here. When the political life and when the political landscape gets too much for you guys, you're more than welcome to come on down to Texas, because everyone seems to want to come here these days. So, but now, all jokes aside, though, thank you so much, Carolina, for your time.
Yeehaw. Thank you so much,
Where
Marvin,
can
for having
everybody
me. It's
find
been
you
a
on social
pleasure.
media?
At Carolina Waldorf Photo.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I'm
And we're
on
gonna plug all
TikTok,
your
Facebook, Instagram
all your
at
social
Carolina
media.
Waldorf Photo.
Perfect. I'm gonna plug everything on there on the show notes so everyone knows where to follow her, give her likes, subscribes, and share her content. And then if you haven't checked her out on season 2, she had a cameo appearance on season 2. But learn something. Always, like I said, we learn from each other and we get inspired by each other. But if you didn't know who she was, apparently she won too. So she was on there the entire season for some people. But now, Carolina, thank you so much for your time today. Seriously. And I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you, Marvin. Likewise.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.